Every member of this body is here for the right reasons. They're here because they want to serve the people of their districts, the people of their states, the people of this nation. And I think it's crucially important, Mr. Speaker, particularly when we're talking about something as sacred as the safety of our children, that we not engage in the kind of partisan attacks, that we not exploit tragedy, that we not engage in the kind of questioning of motives that I just heard my colleague on the other side of the aisle do. I know my colleague, Mr. Hastings, knows that we may have disagreements, but the reason that I, as a mother, feel so strongly about the Second Amendment is because I want to keep our kids safe. I know he knows that my beliefs about the Second Amendment, though they're different from his, are not based upon any campaign donations, any campaign contributions. I know he knows that they're based very firmly on a fundamental commitment to the importance of the Second Amendment as part of what makes this nation safe, as part of what makes our individuals secure, how important it is for us not to use this tragedy to take steps that may make people feel better, that fundamentally violate our constitutional rights, and that won't keep our kids safe. You know, when you go down the path that we've heard so many on the other side of the aisle suggest we go down, many on the aisle, some kind of talking about banning entire classes of weapons, whether they're talking about expanding background checks so that they're somehow universal. You know, our background check system right now is broken. It doesn't work. We have a situation in which states are not reporting the way that they ought to report. And so when I hear my colleagues on the other side of the aisle suggest, well, what we ought to do, frankly, is expand a system that's failing and call that progress, I can't help but think, you know, that's pretty much their standard operating procedure. No matter what the policy is, let's expand a broken system, let's ignore whether or not it's really working, and let's call it progress. And Mr. Speaker, I will not be a party to that. I will not be a party in the situation in which we have had tragedy after tragedy, a situation in which, in this most recent tragedy, law enforcement fundamentally at all levels failed our children. When you have individuals inside of a school who were killed because armed officers outside the school failed to enter, when you have children who were killed because call after call after call to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, to the local law enforcement officials went unheeded because specific tips about this particular individual went unheeded, that is not a time, Mr. Speaker, for us to say, well, what we ought to do then is prevent law-abiding Americans from having access to the firearms that they need to defend and protect themselves. And I think, Mr. Speaker, if you look at what those on the other side of the aisle are attempting to do with respect to the debate about guns and the debate about school safety, it's critically important for all of us to stand up and say, no, we will not go down a path that's going to violate constitutional rights, that will not keep our children safe, and find some kind of false comfort in that.